Today we are taking a look at the Insta360 ONE X. It was released in 2018, but is it still a good 360 camera in 2024? Well, when we take a look at the build quality, it doesn't really feel like an action camera. It's just a normal camera because it doesn't really have a rugged body compared to the newer Insta360 X4. But what you can also notice is that it's a lot lighter and smaller, so it's much easier to carry around. And you definitely notice that, especially when you have it in your pocket. This one is so much lighter, and that is also an advantage when you use it on a selfie stick, because when you have your camera on a long selfie stick, you notice that it starts to bend down more, whereas with the lighter camera you have it less. So that's better for the selfie stick, and it's also more comfortable to hold a lighter camera on a selfie stick. And you can pick them up for about 150 euros used, which is definitely not crazy expensive, but of course this camera is from 2018. And it has a screen with two buttons here, so you can power it on and off, switch between modes, and this is start and stop recording. And there's of course no way to preview your image, but here on this screen you can see the settings, so change to 4K to 5.7K or take a photo. And because it's a 360 camera, it captures everything, so I've noticed that I don't really need a screen to preview my image, because I know it captures everything, so I can always reframe it later. And that's also one thing to keep in mind, is that this one is only a 360 camera, so you can't shoot normal regular video with it. You always have to reframe the video of this camera. And for the ports, it only has a tiny micro USB port, so that's outdated. And the battery life of this camera is definitely one of its weak points. It has a 1050 mAh battery, and it can only last for about half an hour. If you get lucky, maybe 45 minutes, but it's definitely not good at all. And of course the camera gets older over time, which means the battery gets worse, so you definitely want to carry 2, maybe 3 batteries around if you want to shoot for longer. And when you keep the battery inside the camera, it will drain the battery, so you always need to have the battery out of the camera. And these buttons can really easily be pressed, I've noticed, which means that when you put this thing in your pocket or in a backpack, it sometimes automatically turns itself on and starts recording, which of course drains the batteries. So always keep the battery out of here when you are not using it. And the nice thing about the 360 videos is that you can easily reframe it, and even this old camera still works with the latest Insta360 app and still has a lot of features. Definitely not all compared to the newest one, but for a camera that's this old, it's nice to see that it's still supported and you can easily reframe your footage. So it has 2 fisheye lenses that will capture everything, and then in the software it will have a 5.7K image that you will reframe, and then you will get about a 1080p output depending on how much you zoom in or not. There's also an option for 4K at 60 FPS, but because the 4K is in the whole 360 image, it means that when you reframe your 4K video, you will get about a 720p output. It's important to know that it's nothing amazing, and you don't buy this camera for the image quality, but the option that you're able to reframe your videos will allow you to get much more interesting shots that you won't be able to get with the normal camera. And even though the quality is not the best, in 5.7K it's still pretty good. And I like how much flexibility you have in post with the reframing. And if you are more advanced, then you don't even have to do that through Insta360. You can just export a full spherical 360 video, import it into your own video editing software, and then you can fully reframe it with individual keyframes. And this thing also has amazing stabilization. So even when you move the camera like this, or this, the horizon will still be leveled because it's fully 360. It's just important to keep in mind that here you have the stitch lines, but because this camera is so thin, the stitching is actually better compared to the Insta360 X4. But you want to keep at least 1.5 meters from it, so your images don't get too distorted. And one place where this camera does struggle a bit is low light. It's definitely not good for that. So when you shoot 360 video, you want to capture in a sunny day or in a brightly lit environment, because otherwise a lot of noise will start to appear, which is something that you probably don't want in your footage. The microphone quality of the Insta360 ONE X is not that good. It has the microphones here on the top, so if you want to use this for vlogging, then you probably want to use something else. And there's also no external microphone option. So should you still buy this Insta360 ONE X in 2024? If you want to get into 360 without spending a lot of money, then this can still be a decent option. But keep in mind that it definitely has its limitations. So it has a micro USB port, the image quality isn't anything amazing, the battery life is bad, and the microphone quality isn't great either. However, you can capture some really amazing shots with this camera that you can't capture with a lot of other cameras, and the stabilization is amazing, and the reframe in the software is also easy to do. So what do you think of this Insta360 ONE X? Do you still have one, or are you planning on buying one? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.